Hey guys, so man, I was gone for a day for Christmas, and it looks like since then, the world of Path of Exile has completely blown up. Vaal temples are once again a huge topic of discussion, and not in a good way. But before we get into that, let's recap what has happened to the Vaal temples. So, when the League first came out, Vaal temples came out with the League, and people were very underwhelmed. It was great in the story, it was great in campaign, but unfortunately, when we get to maps, it just wasn't very rewarding for the amount of time that we had to put into these Vaal temples, and it was just much better to run maps by themselves. So that was kind of the big complaint at the time, and GGG came in and made a lot of buffs to the Vaal Temple and buffed the overall rewards of the temple, and eventually buffed it one more time before they went on vacation and gave it some more monster effectiveness and rarity, I believe, or sorry, rare monster spawns, I believe. So they just overall shot the temple up to the moon, and people were very happy. So people were like, oh, Vaal Temple, great. Now it is actually worth it for me to run. I can actually get some good value out of Vaal Temple, and it doesn't feel bad to spend my time to actually build the Vaal Temple. Now, it was a little bit annoying because it only, we can only get it once every 6 maps or so before we can go into the Vaal Temple. And a lot of times, depending on how your luck is and things like that, you might not even be able to really expand upon your Vaal Temples to make it grow. But for those of us who spent the time, for those of us who put in the effort and also got kind of lucky, let's just say, with the Vaal Temple, those people got rewarded very, very heavily, and we're getting a ton of loot from Vaal Temples. And I believe like Cute Dog was one of the people who really pioneered the Vaal Temples. He was playing it before it was rewarding. He was playing it when everybody wasn't playing it and enjoying it a lot. So shout outs to him for pioneering and kind of showing the world how good it can actually be. But since then, a lot has happened. People have gotten the Vaal Temple down to a T in terms of like what the meta is and how to actually buff the Vaal Temple and make it so that it's actually worth it to run and how to min max it. But also, since then, we have gotten I guess people call it an exploit. I think it's an exploit. It's an unintended thing in the game, and people are taking advantage of it to make a lot of money. And that is the Holten tech. Now, if you don't know what the Holten tech is, there is a video out by Milky BK, who is one of the main guys who has been making the temple guides. And also, there's a video from, of course, Fubgun explaining and going over how this Holten tech and how to actually min max your temple and everything, like overall. Watch their 2 videos and you'll learn everything there is, that you need to know about temple. Now, so what this Holten tech is that there is a map in the interludes called Holten. And what you do is you make a new character. If you want to do it by yourself, right, for free, you make a new character, and then you come to Holten, which is a map in the campaign in the interludes, and pretty much right where you spawn, around the corner, which Milky points out, like right around here, is going to be a spawning point for the Vaal Temple, and it is there every single time. So all you need to do is go into Holten, come here, and you basically get a temple instantly. Then you go out after you're done with it, you refresh it, and you do it over and over until your temple is built out to the max point where you are getting potentially what Flubgun describes on his rates as 100 divs per hour in the temple, which is absolutely insanity. It is a lot of money. Now, you can also do like a grand project technique on the Atlas itself. So you go to a tower, do a grand project, put on light radius equipment, light radius. And then that way you can find the Vaal temples easier. You do the Vaal temples and then you leave, and then you keep doing those throughout the maps and keep grand project hopping. That way you don't have to actually clear the map to be able to keep moving between the maps. It's pretty insane. It's also pretty fast. And some people are also selling buses. So like you can see right here, Holten runs in the interlude. You can buy 60 crystals for 6 to 10 div. So you can pay somebody to run you through Holten to set up your temple. And yeah, so basically it is a way to expedite the creation of temples and to make it so that you are getting those huge numbers really, really quickly. Now, this, in my opinion, is the biggest problem with the temple right now. This tech right here has completely broken the balance of the game and has caused the economy to kind of fall apart. Though, in my opinion, I don't think it's fallen apart as much as people say it has, but I'll go into that in a little bit. But yes, it has caused the economy to completely split apart, and people are earning a lot of money in a way that's definitely not intended, right? I think that the way that GGG has designed the temple mechanic to be has been to make it so that eventually you do get to a ceiling where you are getting a lot of loot. But it was not intended for it to be like week 3, because the temple, if you are doing it the organic way, the way that they intended for it to be done, it's definitely a lot slower. If we take a look at my temple, right? This was after days of doing it. It is not in a very good place. It's not complete. It's not anywhere close. And of course, I'm not doing it very min-maxy either. Like I didn't like go and search up like, oh, how to min-max it, which right now I think people have kind of discovered how it is min-maxed. At the time, we didn't really have like a formula for like, oh, you're supposed to max out on spy masters, start out with this setup right here, and then just chain the spy masters and whatever, right? We didn't really have that formula yet. So I was kind of going through and figuring it out as I went as well. The only thing I really knew was like you had to snake, like make paths and make a snake, right? So yeah. So this was after a couple days of trying to set up my temple, and it didn't go very well. I was not expanding my temple very quickly, and it was all the time. Like I think it took me like 8, like I'd been searching for like a thaumaturgy for like 8 or 10 temples, and I still didn't get one. It was really frustrating. So, like, depending on RNG, it could take a little faster, it could be a little slower, but overall, again, temple did take a while to set up. And I think that is how it was intended to be. And that way, it wouldn't just massively impact the economy in a way that, people are saying it has right now. So I think that honestly, this was the biggest issue and the biggest problem with Temple. And even if they kept Temple the same as it was right now, right? Even if they, had these buffs that went into the game, even if they, kept the Temple the same way as it was right now, I actually think that Temple would have been in a pretty dang good place. The people who wanted to spend the time and were willing to spend the time to juice out their temples would have gotten to a point eventually where they were cashing out big time on their temples. But the people who didn't want to do that wouldn't get that, right? Whereas now we have a situation where everybody is just going to cash in because it's so easy to do. Now, it's really annoying to do it because you have to make a separate character or you have to pay somebody to do it for you. But at the same time, again, I think that it's like it's just like way too fast. It is just way too easy, way too fast, and you're setting up your temples in a way that is not natural. And we have now so many people kind of getting in on this exploit to really just change the economy in a pretty negative way. But not as negative as we think, because let's take a look at the actual, charts and numbers on how our economy has been going. So this is on PoE Ninja, and it keeps track of the economy. It keeps track of the Exalted Orb to Divine Orb rates, and Chaos Orbs to Divine Orb rates. That we have this for right now, Fate of the Vaal, and we are also looking at the Rise of the Abyssal to compare and contrast the two to see how things are going. Typically, when we look at inflation, a lot of people look at the Exalted Orb to Divine Orb ratio, right? I think that it's a little bit hard to look at the Chaos Orb. It's a little bit more volatile in my opinion. So I think the Exalted Orb is going to be the easier way to take a look at inflation. And typically, as the economy inflates, the cost of the exchange goes up higher and higher and higher. As we can see, it is at 444 to 1 div today, which is very high. But also, one thing to note is that when we do these comparisons, we're not going to compare the numbers because between 0.3 and 0.4, I believe there was a big change to how the floor worked, like how high the floor was on drops. I think that the floor massively went up in 0.4 so that we are just getting more currency and more drops as a whole player base, even if you're not running rarity. Whereas before in Rise of the Abyssal, you needed to have like 150 rarity or you were not getting drops at all. So this league, we are actually getting more drops overall. So as a result, the numbers being higher is actually probably pretty natural. But the trend, right, of the direction it's going doesn't seem the most natural to me. But yeah, so let's take a look here, right? You can see that this Exalt Orb, starting on Friday, December 12th, goes up, 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 and then flatlines, up, flatlines-ish, and then just straight up, right? And this is when you know the economy is starting to inflate really badly, when it is going straight up like this. And you can see this happens this week when the Holten stuff was discovered. So you can see that it potentially, again, this is not causation. We have no proof for causation, but definitely it seems like there is somewhat potentially a correlation between Temple and the currency getting inflated massively. Now, let's take a look at Rise of the Abyssal. So again, we are starting close to the beginning, right? At the beginning of September. Then we can go up, right? Flat lines go up, flat lines go up, flat lines goes up, flat lines, and then boom, now we have this trend where it is just going up exponentially higher and higher and higher. So this is going to be when the economy is going to be inflating massively. Now, the reason why I say that I don't think there is that big of a difference, and like I don't think that the Holten stuff has affected the economy that much. Again, we're not looking at the specific numbers, but if we look at the trend of where things are going, right, where the actual economy is rising up, you can see that with us, the league for us last league started around the end of August. Yeah, the league started, I think, August 29th. So this was about a week or so, like 10 days after the launch of the league. So this is within the first month, right? September 29th. So August 29th was the day it started. So September 29th is exactly a month later. But we can see that trend towards going up, 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 up actually started a little bit after a month of the league. Now, we are not quite at a month yet. We are at about 2 weeks. So it did accelerate the rate that our economy kind of took this up, 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 up direction. But it's not like it's unheard of, right? It's not like it doesn't happen. It's not like this trend doesn't happen at all. I think we have about a week and a half or so before we get to the 1 month mark. So we kind of accelerated the economy by a week and a half, which does kind of suck. At the end of the day, it is accelerated, but I actually don't think in the grand scheme of things, it is the biggest deal ever. So, I think it did have an effect on our economy for sure, and it sucks. But I do think that luckily, because I probably still at the end of the day, Temple is going to be kind of really annoying to set up, even with this faster Holten tech, right? You have to either pay somebody 6 to 10 divs for 60 crystals or make an entirely new character to get it set up through Holten, right? So at the end of the day, I think it still is going to be something that is reserved to the top percentage of players that are willing to put in some of this time. Again, not as much time as Temple it took before, but still some time investment to get this Temple up and running to get those huge rates. Not everybody's going to do it. I'm probably not. I'm definitely not going to be doing it. So yeah. So I don't think it's as big of an effect on the economy as we all think it might be. Now, with all this said and done, right? What do I think about the Vaal Temple? Do I think that it was a good addition? Do I think it was a bad addition? Do I think that it just sucks or it's absolutely amazing? I personally think that Vaal Temple itself doesn't really have a problem. I actually like the league mechanic. I think it's pretty fun to do. I think actually building out the temple the normal way is pretty dang fun to do too. Now, the big complaint that I have is, of course, the time that it takes. So how GG took it, right? The direction they took it was at the beginning, players were saying, oh, it's too unrewarding to run for the amount of time that you have to spend doing it. So you could change 2 verticals in that situation, right? You could change how fast it took for you to set up the temple and run it versus you can also make it so that the rewards go up and make it so that since you're running the temple for a very long time, taking a lot of time to invest into it, you're going to equally up the rewards to make it so that the time you spend is going to be worth the amount of reward that you get. And they took the route of increasing the amount of rewards as opposed to decreasing the amount of time and how easy it was to understand the temple. And I think that at the end of the day is my biggest gripe with the temple. I like the mechanic. I think it's really good. And even now, right? As long as, they fix the Holten stuff, right? And or if it didn't exist at all, I actually think Temple would have been in a very, very good place. But the biggest complaint that I have with Temple is that it still takes way too long to get into a temple run. Now, of course, you have Holten, you have the grand project stuff, but that's not like normal. You're not running the maps normally. I would have loved to be able to run my maps normally and be able to interact with the temple a lot more often. Because let's face it, right? Those little temple mobs on like the top, like when you're mapping, that's not like a mechanic. They're just adding a couple mobs to the screen. Like Abyss was a mechanic where like you interacted with that every single map and you had fun interacting with that mechanic every single map. But with Temple, you only get to have fun every 6 maps, which is a lot of time for the average person. So I would have really liked to see them do that and also make it a lot less complicated to learn. Like now we have all the information, right? So it's a lot easier to learn it. But at the same time, it shouldn't take a 27-minute video to explain how to actually run the temple and like min-max it, right? It's something that should be intuitive that you should be able to learn while playing the game easily and feasibly. Like for example, if I'm going to be running the temple as a normal person, I don't want to look up a guide. I'm gonna be able to want to experiment to see, okay, what upgrades what does what is the best way to do it, right? But in my situation, I've never found a thaumaturgy for like 10 temples. Imagine if I was trying to learn the mechanic and I'm like, okay, what does a thaumaturgy upgrade? Well, I just ran 60 maps and I still don't know because I've never found one. So that at the end of the day, like it needs to be more intuitive, needs to be more streamlined. And again, it needs to be something that I can interact with more often. So I get that dopamine rush of getting into the temple and getting good drops more often. That at the end of the day is my gripe with the temple and would have loved to have seen it go in that direction as opposed to the direction right now where we have the rewards boosted up. But again, I still think it's very good in the way that it is. I think that we just need to fix the Holten thing. I think we just need to fix these exploits. And after that, I think that the temple will be in a very good state. I don't mind if people end up getting 100 dips per run 3 months into the league. I really don't. But as it stands right now, it is definitely in a very rough situation, a rough state. And I hope that GGG can somehow hotfix it, but I don't know if it's likely given they're on vacation. We'll see though. Hopefully they do and get the game back in order, back in shape. And though I don't know how they're gonna super fix it because like there's probably gonna be a lot of people with their temples already set up. But yeah, they also the other thing, make it so that the characters like the temples shared between characters because I'm the person that makes a lot of builds in the league, and I'm not gonna be able to take advantage of the temple on my second character unless I run this Holten tech or something like that. So yeah, please make it so that the temple is shared between characters on your account. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the temple in the comments below. Are you doing the Holten tech? Are you not doing the Holten tech? Are you still not interacting with the temple? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, the best way to support the channel is by going and hitting that sub button. It's completely free and it helps me a lot. And the other way to support me a lot is by heading to my stream, twitch.tv/VisoXShiru. I stream there every single night. So I would really love to see you guys there. But until next time, guys, hopefully I see y'all on my stream. But if not, hopefully I see you guys on the next video. All right, guys, peace.